Hello, good afternoon, sir, and all research scholar. It is my great pleasure to introduce our esteemed resource person, Dr. Bhavik Parmar, sir, who is presently serving as अध्यापक सहायक at Srimati J. Hundalia Arts and Commerce College, Rajkot. He is a made Dr. Parmar, sir.
Hello.
Dr. Parmar, sir, has
Yes, yes.
an impressive teaching experience of 15 years. He has cleared the UGC NET examination twice in the both commerce and management in his very first attempt, which reflects his strong academic excellence and dedication. He has made significant contributions to the field of research with 80 research papers published in national and international journals. In addition, he has authored 4 books in the areas of finance, accounts, and research methodology. He has also actively participated in 14 national and international seminars and conferences. We are truly honored to have such a knowledgeable and experienced academician with us today. Without taking much time, I kindly invite Dr. Bhai Parmar sir to begin the today's session. Please, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I have just one question that if any student is having a doubt, they can ask or not possible. Is it possible that they can raise the
Sir,
doubt in
not
comment?
possible. Comment show on the chat box.
Oh, okay. Okay. And my screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So let us start the topic sampling concept and population definition. You might have studied this concept because research methodology is a part of paper which is generally there in the master degree. But when you actually start doing the research, because all of you are research scholars, so when you do the research, you face several problems. So we'll discuss in depth about the concept of sample and population. So there is a difference amongst the concept like population and sample you may heard, but universe. What is universe? What is population? And what is sample? We'll understand with the example. Say for example, uh, if you want to conduct a research in India about investor behavior, uh, uh, with reference to the women. Okay, that how many of the women invest in mutual funds, for example, in fixed deposit. Okay, so first thing is your topic is to study about the investor behavior, for example. Okay, so all the investors would be a part of the universe, and from that you have to go for the population. Now here the population means targeted population. It must be objective oriented population. So for example, if your topic is that you want to study the investor behavior regarding the uh, systematic investment plan, okay, in India, so those who are buying or who are the prospective investors, okay, that would be the part of target population, and it's not possible for any of the researcher to do the survey for the entire. Why? Because the population is infinite. So when you do the research, first thing is you have a limited budget, you have the limited time. So there is a scarcity of the time constraint. There is a scarcity of the budget also, right? So you have to go for the sample study, right? So out of the targeted population, we have to select a sample, okay, And statistically, it has been proven that your sample size should be at least 10%. Okay, if you want to get the normality of the data. So universe means it includes all elements. Population means targeted. According to your objective, you have to define your population, and out of the population, you have to go for the representative. Means we can call it sample. Now we'll understand what is population. See, the definition is that population is the aggregate or summation of all the objects or individuals regarding which inferences means we have to get meaning out of that are to be made in a sampling study. All those people or documents, etc., who are proposed to be covered under the scheme of the study. So basically, here, first you have to define the population when you start your research, right? So in a research thesis, you have to define the population, and many of the researchers fail to define the appropriate population, and that's why there is no importance remains of the study because your population is not relevant. So you have to go for literature review and uh, take the base of past researches to define the population and to define the research methodology, find out the research gap. So you must be clear that population must be relevant. It must be targeted population, we can say. So population is basically any collection of specific group of human beings or non-human entities such as object, because it's not compulsory that we do the research on human being only. Okay, so there can be in production department you may go for the non-living things and you take the sample and take the decision about the quality of the product. Okay, so it can be human or non-human beings. When you define your population, you must be specific about the time also, right? Because there are certain objects which change over the time. So timing is also very crucial when you go for the population definition. Now, population. First thing is we'll understand what is the population. So basically, the population is any group of unit that has one or more characteristics in common that distinguish that group from other individuals and that are the interest to the researcher. So it must be the target-oriented population, objective-oriented population. We'll see some example also. There are various ways to configure a population depending on the characteristics of interest. Say, for example, to study the investor buying behavior regarding the SIP, systematic investment plan. Now, when you define the population, there are various levels which you must go through. First thing is, you have to define the large area of the population out of that we can call it universe. From that you have to define the objective oriented population, means targeted population. For example, if my topic is to study the investor buying behavior regarding the SIP, and you select some sample or you define some population who are not buying the SIP, who never invest in the mutual fund, then that that should not be done. Like, okay, because that is not your targeted population. Then your population must be accessible, right? When you go for the study, right, it must be accessible. You must be able to collect the data and sample. Out of the population, you must select the appropriate sample who represent the entire population. Okay, it should not be done like that. If your research area is all over India and you study uh, or you select a sample from one region only, because that is not the representation of population. Because if your research area is all over India, then you should at least select one sample or two sample from all the uh, region. Okay, then this is the illustration of the levels of population. Like all investor would be the part of large area of population. And targeted population is the investor buying mutual funds. And accessible population. For example, if you want to study about the investor buying mutual funds in Saurashtra region, so that would be the accessible population. And finally, from that region, you select a sample. So, as per your research area, you have to select a sample. Now, after understanding what is population, we try to understand the sample concept. Now, when we say the sample, sample means a small portion or representative of the population, right? So basically, when you select a sample, it must be the representative of the population. Say, for example, if you want to study the investor behavior and you select a sample uh, who invest in the mutual funds, right? Out of that, 90% that you selected as a sample belongs to the SIP who invest in the infrastructure fund, for example, right? Now, they invest in infrastructure fund, and you draw the conclusion that in Saurashtra region, most of the investor invest in the infrastructure fund, but the reality may be different, because the sample which you selected, that only belongs to the sample that invest in infrastructure fund, but it is not the reality. Okay, that it is possible that uh, those whom you have selected belongs to the sample who only invest in infrastructure fund, but there are various funds available in the market and they invest in different funds, but you select the sample who only invest in the infrastructure fund. So it may be possible that there is an error in selecting the sample. So you must select all representative, right? Later on we'll understand about sampling technique, also brief about the sampling technique. Okay, that how can you select a sample. Now sampling is basically the process in which we select a sample, and this is the main uh, core area, we can say, of a research. If you make a mistake here, then there are 100% chance that there is no validity of your research because you have not selected proper sample. So whenever you are going to select a sample, you must refer to the uh, guideline, and you must study your population in depth, and accordingly you should select a sample. Right? Say for example, if you are doing the study about the consumer buying behavior, or if you are doing the study about the impact of dividend policy on uh, investment decision, right? So when you say the dividend policy, so you must collect the data about the dividend declaration of a company in the last 1 year, last 2 years, 3 years, and accordingly you you should study the impact, right? That before the dividend, what was the market price, what was the investment ratio in a particular script, and after dividend, what change you have observed, right? So sample selection is the main aspect in a research. You must consider this point. Now, when we say that sample should be like, okay, so there are some characteristics of a good sample we must know as a researcher. Okay, for example, it must be the representative, right? If it is not a representative, then there is no meaning of such research. Say, for example, in a quality control department, production engineer take one sample, right? And the quality is not appropriate, or it is not in accordance with the standard specified by the quality department. Then what will the production engineer will do? Reject. Okay, but he will not reject the entire production lot. He should go for at least 5% to 6% sample, right? And from that, he has to decide whether to reject the whole production batch or uh, go for recycling like that. Okay, so when you go for the sample, it must be the representative, and that's why you must select at least 5 to 6% sample out of the population. Then sample should have the characteristics of population, right? Uh, Say for example, if you want to study the survey regarding the investors' attitude, or for example consumer satisfaction or job satisfaction of an employee, right? Now there are 100 employees working in organization, and you have selected 5 employees only for the study to regarding the job satisfaction, and all of them 5 employees replied that I am not satisfied with my job, right? And you conclude that there is no job satisfaction in so and so organization. But this may not be the reality, okay? Because it may happen that 90% of the employee are satisfied, but you have not selected them as a sample. So it may be possible that the research may not be reliable, okay? So it should uh, have all the characteristics of the population. It should be selected by following the proper sampling method, right? Now, when we say about the sampling method, there are two aspects. We can say random and non-random way. Okay, so it is called probability sampling and non-probability sampling. We'll discuss it later on. Should have least bias. There is no partiality. It must be free from the biasness, prejudice. Okay, that it should not be like that. You select the employee whom you know, right? There should not be any kind of partiality, right? So this is and sample size should be as large as possible, or it should be have require adequate size. See, there is no proper definition, right? In statistical, it is uh, proven that sample size less than 30 is called small sample size. And if your sample size is more than 30, we can say there is a large sample study. But you should select a sample on the basis of population size, right? Say, for example, if 100 employee working in organization, then you should go for at least 20% to 25% population sample, right? 20 to 25 sample employees, because it is possible for any researcher to conduct a survey of 25 in depth. Okay, so it should be selected on the basis of population size. Okay, free from sampling error. There should not be any kind of biasness or prejudice. Right. Now we will discuss about some sampling concept. Okay, some sampling concept. Now, when we say about the sampling concept, there are certain definition which you must go through. First thing is sampling frame and sample size and unit, sampling bias, sampling error, sampling technique. Okay. So in a chapter of research methodology, you have to define about the sampling frame, sampling size, population definition, uh, sampling technique also, right? So this would be helpful to you to write this research methodology chapter in your thesis. Now, one by one, we'll discuss about the concept. First concept is sampling frame. Now, when we talk about the research, what is sampling frame? Okay, so basically the sampling frame is the actual list, database, or map from which the sample is drawn. Now, say for example, if you want to study about the market cap analysis, market cap, or EVA, economic value added concept, or if you want to study about the uh, earning per share and dividend policy of the company, right? For any of the financial or marketing topic in your research, then what you should do, right? First thing, you have to define your sampling frame. Now here in the example given, the sampling frame would be the uh, you can collect the data from money control website, you can collect the data from the stock exchange website, you can collect the data from various private app, right? Trading app. So basically that is called sampling frame. Okay. A database or a map from which the sample is drawn. Now the second concept is sampling unit. Now when we set a sampling unit, sampling unit means what? Say, for example, you collected the data from Bombay Stock Exchange, right? Trading company. So, Bombay Stock Exchange traded company would be the unit of sample, right? So, basically, it is a single member item or element selected from the population. Here, the example is given about CEO duality and content analysis. This is the method of data analysis. There are various statistical method. Okay, uh, and a content analysis is one of them to analyze the data. Right. Basically, it is used in the secondary database research. Okay, so CEO duality. Say, for example, if you refer to the Reliance, Tata, Birla, there are so many organizations who are popular in India, and you study the data about the CEO and their performance, then you can uh, collect this data from the official website, collect this data from the financial news channel, okay, Indian Express, Economic Times, etc., and various magazines also, right? And you analyze the content. So basically, the organization which you selected as a sample, that would be the part of sampling unit. Another example is challenges in comparing interest rate. Challenges in comparing interest rate, a focus on India's banking system. So India's banking system, right? So it includes uh, nationalized bank, scheduled bank, private as well as public sector bank. Okay, so uh, private sector bank, and in that you have selected HDFC Bank, for example, or ICICI Bank. So that would be the sampling unit. Then the another concept is sampling bias. bias means partiality. Okay, so when you conduct a research, you must be free from any kind of biasness, right? It should not be done like that. You send a questionnaire or Google Form link to the respondent whom you know. Okay, you must share as much as possible to the unknown people also through the social media and Google Form is the widely used form of data collection, technique of data collection at present, right? So that's why I've given this example. And the thing happened that most of the respondents are relatives, friends, circle, etc. So this means you studied uh, data. Okay, you studied uh, relative and friends, right? It should not happen. So sampling bias should not be done in a researcher. So as a researcher, you must take care of this and you just try to get maximum coverage, right? Uh, of entire population and you should try to minimize the biasness. Now, sampling bias, error resulting from a sample that does not accurately represent a population, leading to skewed result. It may be positively or negatively skewed, right? You must study the normality of the data, bell shape, right? Your data should be normal, and when it becomes a normal, there is a uh, there is an increase in the reliability of the research also, right? So it should not be skewed. So error resulting from a sample that does not accurately represent the population, right? Leading to skewed result. So it should not be skewed. It should be normal. And for normal, you must select maximum sample size. Right? Here the example is given. Selecting the investor who invests just infrastructure fund example which I had given earlier. Okay, it, it is not like that in Saurashtra region. For example, if you are conducting a survey in a Saurashtra region about the investor buying behavior in SIP. So in mutual fund, there are various types of funds available, right? But uh, it happens that your 90 to 80% sample consists of infrastructure fund investors. So you draw the conclusion that investor invest in the infrastructure fund in Saurashtra region, which is not real. Okay, so uh, this is the sampling bias which may occur, right? It may be because of the randomness. Okay, probability sampling. It is not like that you intentionally do this. Okay, so unintentionally also it may happen, right? So it is because of the probability sampling. Now another example: factors influencing users' intention to invest in AI-based platform. Now, there are various AI-based platform available. Okay, on the basis of which most of the investor take investment decision, right? But you select some sample who never invest in AI-based platform, then there is no meaning of such study. Okay, so this is also the sampling biasness, or we can say sampling error. Okay, uh, so factors influencing users' intention to invest in AI-based platform. Now you may be able to know the intention when any person investing in AI-based platform. If he's not investing in AI-based platform, then there is no meaning of such a research or such response. Okay. Now, sampling bias and sampling error are very similar concept. Okay, so in a sampling error, this happens because of the randomness of the sampling technique. In a probability sampling, you select a sample randomly. There are various technique like stratified random sampling, systematic random sampling, simple random sampling. So there is a random element in selection of sample, and we all know that when we select a sample by draw, okay, it may happen that there are chance error may happen. Okay, so natural difference between the sample result and true population value, it decreases as the sample size increases. So we must go for the large sample size to have the normality of the data. It should be normal distribution. Now, sampling technique. Sampling technique is the way by which you select a sample, way by which you are going to select a sample. Okay, so when we say the sampling technique, right, we can divide the sampling technique as probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Now, in a sampling technique is means the way by which we select a sample. Now, from the example which we have studied, right? If you want to select a sample, right? For example, I want to select investors. I want to do the primary survey, and I want to do the survey on investors regarding the uh, buying of SIP. We continue with the same example. Okay, buying with the SIP. Uh, so, which factor that they have considered when they buy the SIP? Okay, for example, return, the maximum and most affecting criteria is the return. Okay, uh, then risk factor, then liquidity factor. Okay, because in close-ended fund you cannot withdraw for a specific time. Okay, or you may have to pay the penalty. Okay, so basically, uh, whenever you are going to select a sample, right? You may go for probability, means randomly you may select, or you may go for the non-probability sampling. Here, most of the researcher in their thesis make a mistake. What kind of mistake they have done? Say, for example, they write in a sampling technique, simple random sampling, and when they ask in a viva that how you select a sample, they said that I have shared the questionnaire to the contact person. Okay, collect the data. This is basically not a random sampling. This is not a simple random sampling. Okay, so when you specify your sampling technique in your research thesis, you must consider the aspect that how you have selected the sample. Yes, it may be possible that it may be the combination of sampling and probability and non-probability technique. It may be possible, right? That you have selected the sample, right? So how is it possible that you use the a combination of probability and non-probability? We'll see the example also, right? So basically, we can divide the technique in two parts: probability sampling as well as non-probability sampling. So you may go for random selection or non-random selection. Example which we have discussed, that you have shared the questionnaire Google form to your WhatsApp group contacts, right? There are various group of academician or your friends, relatives, and you share Google form and collect a response. So basically, it is a convenience, right? On the basis of your convenience, you have selected the sample, right? So uh, this is the convenience sampling, which is a part of non-probability sampling. Okay, so these are the methods of sampling: probability and non-probability sampling. This is an in-depth topic in your module, so we'll just see it uh, uh, briefly. Okay, simple random sampling. Now, simple random sampling in your research, how can you apply this method? Say, for example, if you want to conduct a research in your area, okay, in your area or in your residency, right? Now, for example, in your society, there is a plot number given, okay, and you prepare the list of the residence plot number or commercial plot number, right? And you create a database in your computer about the plot number of your residence, right? And from that residence, uh, you randomly uh, using some software, random software, or manually you prepare the checks by writing the plot number of all of them, and randomly you pick up some checks, or you draw shuffle that checks and you pick up any of the check. And for example, plot number 51 is there, so 51 is selected as a part of study. So this is basically the simple random sampling. Now in your research, I am not suggesting the simple random sampling because in reality there are high chances of the sampling error because of the element of randomness, right? So if you want to conduct a research uh, randomly, you should go for another method of probability sampling, right? Which minimize the biasness and chance error. For example, systematic random sampling. This is the another method, systematic random sampling. Now, in a systematic random sampling, it may be possible that uh, you divide your uh, sample selection in various stages. So it is also known as stepwise random sampling. Right? So in a systematic random sampling, first thing is you have to uh, draw one check. For example, row number 51 is selected. Now there are 1000 residents in your area, and you want to select 100 out of 1000 means 10% sample size as compared to population. So you should select in a gap of 100, right? So 51, then 151, 251, 351 likewise would be selected as a sample. Okay, so just a minute. So in a systematic random sampling, you select a sample in a step wise manner. Okay, then stratify random sampling. It may be possible that your population is not homogeneous. You may see variation in your population, then you must go for the stratified random sampling. Say, for example, if you want to conduct the research on human behavior, then you must divide your population like male and female. Okay, and from the ratio of male and female, you select sample. So that is called stratified. Stratified means group. Strata means group. Okay. So you should divide your population as per their characteristics, homogeneous characteristics. Okay. And thereafter you should select a sample. Okay. Randomly. That is called stratified random sampling. Okay. We have another method like multi-stage random sampling and cluster sampling. These are basically the probability sampling. In a cluster sampling, you uh, divide the population region-wise. Say, for example, North Gujarat, South Gujarat. Okay, in a cluster. Cluster means a specific group or specific region-wise group. Okay, and thereafter you select sample randomly from that group. Okay, but in a stratified uh, as well as cluster sampling, you must select at least one sample from the all the strata, all the group or cluster we can say. Okay. Now, if you want to conduct a research by avoiding the random principle, then we may say that you have selected the sample by using the non-probability sampling. Okay, non-probability sampling means without using the principles of randomness, you have selected the sample. Okay, on the basis of convenience, on the basis of wishes means volunteerness, then purpose of the on the basis of objective, snowball means reference base, quota sampling. Okay, so these are all the methods of sampling. We can say non-probability sampling, right? So most of the researcher go for the convenience sampling because they use the sample on the basis of the convenience, right? If you are able to collect the data, okay, from Saurashtra region, right, from the contact list, from the social media, you can share the uh, your questionnaire, right? Like from social media, like Facebook, Instagram, you share your questionnaire and collect the data. Okay, from your friends, relatives, okay, in a group. So that is convenience-based sampling, right? Then the another method is volunteer non-probability sampling. Right? Then first thing is when you want to collect a response, you must take the permission, consent of the prospective uh, researcher, respondent. Okay. If they want to give the answer, if they want to give the reply, then you will proceed further. Okay. So this is the method also of non-probability sampling. Then purposeful, objective oriented. A researcher must keep in mind about the objective when they face any research process step. Okay, for example, when you collect the data, when you define your population, when you define your sample, right, from starting to the conclusion part, you must uh, be specific, clear about your objective. And most of the researchers fail to do so. Okay, in a Viva, if we ask some question and if we see the analysis, it may be possible that objective is different and analysis may be different, right? So it should not be like that. Okay. For example, a objective is to study about the consumer preferences, right? And the conclusion is about the satisfaction, right? It should not be like that. It must be in accordance with the objective of research. So when you start your research study, first thing is you have to go for the review of literature. You have to study some uh, literatures from books. It may be from books, magazine, newspaper, journals, right? online articles, right? So you must study at least 70 to 80 uh, research papers, right, from various sources, and from that you should find out the research gap, that my study is different from the other study, which is known as research gap. Okay, so after review of literature, you have to define your objective, and then you have to define about the research methodology. So all the process must be carried out considering the objective of research. And once you define your objective, you should not change this, right? You should not divert. What most of the researchers made mistake here, that they divert from the topic in a data collection phase, in the uh, data analysis phase. So you must consider about the objective, and all the process must be carried out in accordance with the objective of research. Okay, so purposeful means as per the objective you collect the data. Say for example, if your objective is academic objective, that you want to pursue the research because you want to get the degree of PhD. Okay. In an organization, they want to study the research because they want to solve the problem. Right? Say, for example, sales is declining. Now, sales is declining of so and so company is not actually the problem. You must ascertain the reason why the sales has been declining. Okay, so for that you have to conduct the research. Say, for example, when McDonald, a worldwide popular franchisee, launched their outlet in India, they miserably fell in initial year. Why they have fell? Because they fail to understand the nature of population. They fail to understand the consumer preferences. They fail to understand about the consumer buying behavior in India. They got the success in another country, but not in India. Why? Because they have failed to study about the consumer behavior, consumer preferences, and after failure, they have conducted the study, and on the basis of the result, they have designed a strategy that how should we do the business in India. Okay, in some part of the India, we should not launch our hybrid outlet in which we cannot offer veg and non-veg product in one outlet, because uh, India is a cultural country. Okay, so first thing is we need to understand about the consumer behavior. We need to understand about the consumer preferences, and accordingly we should design a strategy. Okay, it's not possible that a strategy which is successful in US or China, it must be successful in India. No, it's not like that. You have to study uh, the culture. You have to study the consumer buying behavior. So purposeful. How can we select a sample purposefully, objective oriented? Okay. Uh, and snowball sampling means reference to reference, right? Uh, we can select a sample. Quota sampling means, say, for example, we can take the example of recruitment policy of Indian government. Okay, there is a SC, ST, OBC general quota system. So, uh, uh, on the basis of this group also you can select a sample, but in a non-random way, because you have selected the non-probability sampling. Another method of non-probability sampling we can say judgmental sampling. Judgmental sampling means on the basis of the judgment of researcher they select a sample. Now when we say about the judgment, so judgment means experience-based learning. Okay, if you are experienced, then you may go for the judgmental sampling, right? So on the basis of judgment of you select a sample that, say for example, in a class of 60 to 70 students, I regularly take class of this 60 to 70 students. So I have the judgment that who is clever, who is poor in study, who is mischief behavior, right? So on that basis, I should take care of. And if I want to do the survey, or if I want to do the study about the students' behavior or students' attitude about uh, uh, learning new concept. Okay, I can easily figure out on the basis of judgment. So judgmental sampling is also the non-probability sampling technique. Right? The last concept is sample size. Right? This is the main thing that you have to consider in your research. That what should be the sample size, right? What should be the sample size? So it must be in one line, both simple. In one line, your sample should be in accordance, adequate to your population size. Okay. Please remember that you must select a sample size on the basis of your population, right? Simple funda, right? Population, uh, uh, 10% minimum. Your sample size should be minimum 10% of the population, right? Statistically, it has been proven that one person should be the at least the sample size, but if it is possible, then you should go for the 10% to have the normality of data, because in data analysis you have to apply the various tests. Okay, so you can test your hypothesis easily, right? So sample size should be adequate to your population size. Thank you very much. So here I conclude my topic.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of Department of Commerce and Management, I sincerely thank Dr. Bhavik Parmar, sir, for his insightful and informative session. Once again, thank you very much, sir.
Most welcome. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.